Hello YouTube. So after much mental debate, I have decided as long as the CBR starts now, which I'm sure it will, it always has, but these are the little mental blocks I give myself, to go ahead and get a screaming deal on a new ZX10. The CBR I certainly could and perhaps should live with. But like I said, I'm getting this ZX10 for $11,000, which is $3,400 off. And at this point, I think it's time to upgrade. I know a lot about the ZX10. I've heard nothing bad. It's track proven. Pikes Peak just set the fastest lap time on a ZX10 this year. It's an incredible bike. They've made some fairly major improvements this year. The improvements... Goodbye, old girl. Next time I see you, we'll be in the showroom and you'll be going to another home. But I'm ready to get a new bike myself. So we're here at Roadside Marine. I actually bought my first brand new motorcycle here back in 1999. It was a ZX10R. It was a really dark purple. It looked black until it was in the sunlight. It was very, very awesome. That was at the time the best bike I'd ever ridden. This is the main man, Chris. He's the one that sold me that bike way back then. He's been doing this a very long time, longer than I've been probably around. And he always shoots you straight. They know me pretty well, and everybody that works here has worked here a very long time, so you can pretty much take them at their word and know that they're shooting you straight. He should let me do this because I don't want anybody to scratch my bike. That's my new bike, by the way. Yeah, so that 99 ZX10R, that was the first brand new bike I ever owned. And now look at what I'm on. My first brand new leader bike. I've owned Hayabusa, but that's really not considered a leader bike. This, on the other hand, is 436.7 pounds of pure, raw badass. Very, very... I actually am starting off in the lowest power mode setting, so it's less abrupt and it won't scare me. But halfway through this ride, I actually wind up putting it to full power, and it's just smooth as can be up until about 8 grand, which I find out later. And then it will pick the front wheel up even in like 4th and 5th gear. It will pull. 175 horsepower, 74 foot-pounds of torque, and it's all delivered at about 11,000 RPMs. It's got the big piston fork up front, and the brakes on it are Takiko's, but a lot of the experts say they work better than Brembo's or any of the top name brands on, you know, a lot of more expensive bikes. This bike is one of the lightest on the market except for the Ducati. It is even lighter, come to find out. I heard different things on the new R1, but it is actually lighter than the new R1. And it puts out about 15 more horsepower than the new R1. And it's got the electric steering dampener on it, Olin's. It's got a larger airbox than the previous models, and they actually designed that to be quieter, unlike the Z1000, which they actually designed to make intake noise, and it sounds incredible on that bike. But this thing here is pure track weapon. It's got cassette style gearbox. You can change it without even, you know, draining the oil. You can change your internal gear ratios, which is a huge plus on the track. Titanium exhaust headers. You can actually shorten the swing arm 15 millimeters which is another huge, you know, step forward. I mean, I don't know of any other bike that's capable of happening on. I love the Cowie green. I mean, ever since the late 80s, early 90s, the ZX10 has been, you know, I mean, that's where the ninja word came from. You hear that and you know it's a serious piece of machinery. And this new redesign model, they totally redesigned it in 11. They made it look the way it does, and like I said, the only small changes they made in 14 were the steering dampener, the big piston forks, the airbox change. I think that was practically anything of the major upgrades that had to happen. It feels better than the CBR. It's the best handling bike I've ever ridden. It not only is light, it feels light. It doesn't feel like you're riding a big bike. You can see the gauges very well, which on the CBR I was never really able to. I was always looking at the top of the windscreen rib, which completely obstructed the vision of your gauges and whatnot. With this bike, you can see everything plainly. The power modes, the traction control is literally like the best in the business. It's better than BMW. It's much simpler to operate. It's a toggle switch, you know, up, down, that's it. There's nothing, you ain't got to scroll through a bunch of nonsense and whatever, which I love. And it works very well. You know, again, that's straight from all the pros testing this bike and comparing it to $16,000 to $25,000 motorcycles. And this bike is the best Japanese bike, hands down. Like I said, the new R1 is supposed to handle better, but I don't really see how that's possible. You know, I mean, this is pretty much as good as it gets, especially for $10,000 less. There's really no comparison. And the quality is there because it is race proven. I mean, this bike is raced on more tracks than any other bike in the world. So if that doesn't prove its capabilities, then nothing will. And if you are able to take it easy, I mean, it's got an economical little set of wheels on it, just like the Z1000 does, that lets you know you're not working the bike, even though you've got more power than any other bike out there. I mean, you know, this bike at 4,000 is like the CBR at double the RPMs, so you're saving gas there, and it's not nearly as hard on the bike. You don't have to be rolling down the road at 8 grand just to be able to pass a car. You can do it, you know, anywhere in the rev range you want, really. And yeah, it feels a lot more planted. It fits me a lot better. The foot pegs are adjustable, which is a really nice feature. The suspension, both front and rear, you can spring it so it's a better ride on the road, and yet it handles the corners better, so you don't need that stiff suspension to be able to make it handle the tight corners. Yeah, it's just the perfect overall package for me, and it's definitely a dream bike, something I can check off the bucket list, because I really never thought I'd be able to own one of these. Say nothing about its distant cousin, the Z1000, which also was an incredible buy from Roadside Marine. I traded a dirt bike and a four-wheeler for that. And again, it was just a matter of, do you do it now, or do you sit on what you've got? I mean, because you don't get those opportunities every day, so when you do see a screaming good deal for something you really want, I think that's when you have to put all your doubt aside and go for it. And it was definitely worth that. The 5-year warranty I got with it, you know, I got that thrown in as part of the package, and that's total, you know, tire to tire, covers absolutely everything except for, you know, brake pads and batteries. But that's some nice reassurance for the, you know, life of the loan. You've got that Kawasaki coverage, And, you know, I've got a dealer that I can trust to perform the work that it'll need, if it ever needs anything. And the way I take care of my stuff, it probably won't. But when it does, or if it does, you know, I've got that covered. Unlike, you know, some guys who have to travel 3 hours to get their whatever bikes worked on. You know, that's something that I did consider buying this bike, and I can trust my dealer and I can trust the manufacturer to make a good product. And that's half the battle right there, I'd say. But yeah, it's an amazing ride. It feels so much better. You know, the CBR, even though it fit me all right, it actually felt small. And, you know, it was what it was. That's 13. That's my lucky number. Friday the 13th, boy. So now it's got 13 miles on it. And many more to come. Yep. So right now we're headed into like the Bristol area. I think this is Huntington where I am now. Taking a little bit of a roundabout route just to be able to ride it before I head home. I'm going to go up over Route 17, which is some really sweet corners, but it is unfortunately quite rough. But that's a road you'll be seeing if you haven't already seen it in some videos. And yeah, from there it's on the way home. I'm going to get some non-ethanol gas put in it. That's another reason I came this way, because in Waitsfield, Vermont, they sell non-ethanol gas. And unfortunately, the dealer had already put gas in it when he put it on the showroom floor, so we're going to have to get that crap worked out of it. And that's all I run in anything that I own is non-ethanol, and I use the K100 like you've seen in previous videos. And I put a little bit of extra protection in the gas because the gases and oils these days are needing to run so clean that they really don't have a lot of the protective qualities that the engines need. That's why, like, Volkswagen Beetles needed lead, because it actually cushioned the valves. And now, you know, you put that ethanol gas in a motor that hasn't been converted, and, you know, in a bug or something, and it wouldn't last a mile probably before it blew up on you, because it's grain alcohol is what the ethanol is. Then, you know, unless you got a funny car, I wouldn't recommend running grain alcohol in anything. So, even though it's a small quantity, it's still there. But anyways, I love the mirrors on it. They I have the integrated turn signals in them, which is really cool. The power mode, I have switched to full power, and it's really not any more abrupt. It's just a little bit stronger pull than the low power setting, the A mode, I guess it was, or C mode, whichever. And I've got it set in number 2 traction mode, so that's the relatively unobtrusive, but it's there if you want it, and you can actually shut it off, which is nice. I probably never will, because I'll probably never crank on it hard enough to even, you know, put myself in that kind of jeopardy. But unless I someday do convert it to the track, then maybe. And that's a possibility, because this is an awesome bike for it. So we're here in my house, and she's going where the CBR used to be, and it was definitely a good idea to trade it. No regrets, my baby's home. Thank you, YouTube. Enjoy life on 2 wheels.